The first slap of rain hit her cheek before she even realized she was running. Mina Park didn't remember when her feet started flying across the narrow Seoul street, only the echo of her father's voice still ringing in her ears, sharp enough to carve through bone. "Get back here, Mina." She didn't look back, couldn't. Not after what she'd just heard, what she'd just been sentenced to. Her lungs burned, her heart crashed against her ribs, and the city blurred around her in streaks of neon and wet lights. The storm had risen fast, wind dragging her hair into her eyes as she sprinted. A horn blared. Tires screeched. Mina twisted to the side just as a black sedan slid to a stop inches from her legs. Her palms slapped the hood, breath punching out of her chest. The tinted window rolled down. A pair of calm, dark eyes met hers. Eyes that didn't look startled or irritated. Eyes that looked like they'd been waiting. "Miss Park," the man said, his voice deep and steady despite the chaos around them. "Get in the car." Mina froze. She didn't know him. She didn't know the car, but she knew the name he said next. "Your fiancé is waiting." Her stomach dropped as if the ground had vanished beneath her. Fiancé. The word tasted like metal. A marriage. An arrangement. A decision made in a room she was not invited into. She staggered back. "No," she whispered. "No, you don't understand. This is a mistake. I'm not marrying him. Anyone. I don't even know him." The driver didn't blink. "You will?" "And why's that?" Mina shot back shakily. "Because he's some billionaire CEO? Because my father thinks selling me off will fix his debts?" A faint sigh. "Because he asked for you." That made her pause. The man stepped out, umbrella opening smoothly above them. He wasn't threatening. If anything, he looked painfully composed for a man drenched in rain, suit clinging to him. He extended a hand. "Please, Miss Park, running will only make this harder." Mina's throat tightened. She wasn't afraid of him. She was afraid of what waited at the end of this road. The man her father said she was to marry. The man she'd only heard rumors about, cold, private, untouchable, and apparently gay. Her father had hissed that part like a dirty word. "He's gay, Mina. He won't touch you. He won't bother you. You'll live like roommates. You'll be safe. Do you understand? He needs a wife for the company image, and I need a bailout," she had finished, her voice cracking. Her father didn't deny it. Now, standing soaked in the Seoul rain, Mina realized she was still shaking. Not from the storm, from the truth she was about to step into. Her fingers brushed her cheek. The cold wasn't numbing enough. "I'm not ready for this," she whispered. The driver opened the back door. "No one ever is." Mina's jaw clenched. Her legs felt heavy, but she stepped into the car anyway. "Because some storms won't stop chasing you." The door shut behind her, quiet but final. The interior was warm, clean, expensive. She sank into the leather seat, heart thudding as the city lights slid across the windows like streaks of colors refusing to settle. The drive was silent except for the steady wipe of wipers and her own frantic breathing. Her thoughts spiraled. She was marrying a man she didn't know, a man who didn't even like women. A man with so much money and power that her refusal meant nothing. "But you're gay," she had told her father. "Why would he even marry me?" Her father's response still echoed. "Because he needs to, and because you don't have a choice." She gripped her knees, nails digging into her skin. No, she always had a choice. She had to believe that. The car turned sharply and slowed as they approached a tall glass building that pierced the sky. Lights lined the edges like a crown. Mina stared upward, stunned despite her fear. "What is this place?" she murmured. "Home," the driver replied. Her pulse stuttered. His home? Yes. The car rolled to a stop under a sheltered entrance. A doorman opened the door immediately, head bowed. Everything felt rehearsed, deliberate, like she was stepping into a world crafted with precision, and at the center of it waited the man she was about to marry. Mina swallowed and stepped out. The air smelled faintly of eucalyptus and rain. Her clothes were still damp, her hair clinging to her face, but she straightened her shoulders. She wasn't going to look afraid. The elevator ride felt too quiet, the numbers ticking up far too quickly. When the doors slid open, she stepped into a penthouse hallway lined with soft lights and marble. Her breath hitched. "Mina Park." The voice was deep, steady, controlled. She turned slowly. There he stood. Jae-min Seo. The Korean billionaire CEO, her arranged fiancé. He was taller than she imagined. Sharp cheekbones, eyes that looked like they had memorized the world but trusted none of it. His black hair fell gently across his forehead, a single rebellious strand breaking the perfection. He wore no tie, just a dark shirt that made him look both relaxed and impossibly intimidating. He studied her quietly. Mina swallowed. "Hi." His gaze moved to her wet clothes. "You ran?" She blinked. "You knew I would?" "I expected it." There was no judgment in his voice, just truth. Mina crossed her arms. "Don't tremble. And you still want to go through with this? Even though you clearly don't want a wife." His expression didn't change. Wanting has nothing to do with it. "And your sexuality?" she whispered, heat rising in her cheeks. Jae-min didn't blink. "Is not your concern?" Mina's lips parted. Wow. Okay, that was blunt. "So you're really gay?" she said before she could stop herself. His jaw tightened, not in embarrassment, but in a way that warned she was stepping on something she didn't understand. He took one slow step toward her. "Mina," he said, her name rolling off his tongue with surprising gentleness. "Do not assume you know me." "I don't," she whispered. "That's the problem." For the first time, something flickered in his eyes, something that looked suspiciously like conflict. Or regret. "You will?" he said softly. Her breath caught. Because the way he said it didn't sound like a promise. It sounded like a warning. Mina didn't know what she expected next. Maybe a tour, maybe a set of rules, maybe silence so thick she'd choke on it. But instead, Jae-min stepped to the side and gestured toward the long hallway stretching behind him. "Come," he said quietly. She hesitated. Her feet didn't want to obey, but her curiosity betrayed her. Something about him wasn't adding up. He was too calm, too controlled, too unreadable. She followed. The hallway opened into a living space so breathtaking she had to stop. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Seoul skyline, the storm outside streaking the city in flashes of silver. Minimalist furniture, dark marble, soft lighting. Everything looked curated, cold, but beautiful. "This doesn't look like someone's home," Mina said before she could stop herself. Jae-min didn't turn. "It isn't." She blinked. "What do you mean?" He continued walking, hands in pockets. "It's a place I sleep, not a place I live." The words settled in the air like frost. Lonely, she thought, but didn't dare say. They reached a small sitting room, quiet, intimate, despite the expensive decor. He motioned for her to sit. Mina sank into the couch, fingers twisting together as he took the seat opposite her, elbows resting on his knees. Without warning, he asked, "Why did you run?" Her breath hitched. "Because I'm being forced into marriage." "You call this force?" he asked, voice low, unreadable. "What else should I call it?" She snapped, panic edging into her tone. "You don't know me. I don't know you. And yet I'm supposed to be your wife? For what? A business front? A PR move? He lifted a hand. Softly, calmly, just enough to quiet her. "You think I asked for this?" "You told the driver you asked for me." Jaemin's eyes held hers, steady, intense, darker than the storm outside. "I did," he said, "but not for the reasons you think." Mina swallowed hard. Her pulse hammered. "Then why?" He didn't answer, not immediately. Instead, he leaned back slowly, watching her with a gaze that felt too familiar for a man she'd only just met. "You were the only one who made sense," he said finally. "The only one who wouldn't complicate things." Her eyebrows shot up. "Complicate what? Your image? Your company board? Your dating life?" His jaw flexed, but he didn't look away. The silence stretched between them, taut as a wire. "Everyone else would expect something from me," he said quietly. "You won't." Mina stared at him, stunned. "You picked me because I won't expect affection?" "Because you won't demand it." She felt the sting before she could hide it. "That's harsh," she whispered, and "it's honest." He said it without cruelty, but it still hurt. Mina looked away, blinking fast. Emotions she didn't want to name rushed through her chest. Frustration, fear, confusion, a strange ache she didn't understand. When she didn't respond, Jae-min's tone softened a fraction. "Mina, I'm giving you more than most people get with me." "That's not comforting." It's not meant to be. She didn't know whether to laugh or scream. Instead, she pressed her palms against her thighs and said the only thing she could think of. You don't even like women. His head lifted slightly, eyes narrowing in a way she couldn't decipher. Is that what you think? He asked. That's what everyone says. He studied her for a long, heavy moment, a moment that made her skin prickle. And if I told you people say many things about me? He murmured, most of them untrue. Mina blinked. Her heartbeat tripped over itself. So, you're not gay? She asked softly. He didn't answer. Not yes. Not no. Just silence. And somehow that silence felt louder than any declaration. Her chest tightened. If you're straight, why would you want a marriage like this? A false one? His eyes darkened. Because sometimes truth is more dangerous than lies. Before she could ask what that meant, a sudden chime echoed through the penthouse. Jae-min's jaw tensed. He rose. Stay here. Mina quickly stood as well. Wait, who is it? He paused at the door, posture rigid. No one you need to worry about. That sounds exactly like someone I should worry about. He didn't respond. The door slid shut behind him. Mina stood alone in the sitting room, her pulse racing as muffled voices murmured from the hallway. One voice was unmistakably Jae-min's, low, controlled, clipped. The other was sharper, female, upset. She edged closer, not enough to be obvious, just enough to hear hints through the thick walls. She's here? The woman hissed. Not your concern, Jae-min answered. I promised nothing. Mina felt her stomach twist. A lover, a partner, someone he did want but couldn't have. Her heart clenched painfully at the thought. Stupidly, irrationally, but she felt it anyway. What kind of marriage was she walking into? A quiet one? A cold one? A fake one? The voices faded. Footsteps approached. Mina scrambled. Back to the couch just as Jae-min re-entered, expression unreadable. She swallowed. Was that? No, he cut in. Don't ask. His tone wasn't sharp, just exhausted. Mina sat slowly. You know, this would be easier if you just told me what I'm supposed to expect. What kind of marriage this will be. Jae-min took a long breath, dragging a hand through his hair, messing up the perfect strands. Peace, he said quietly. That's what I expect. Peace, she repeated. And silence. No intrusions, no emotional demands, no drama. Her jaw dropped. Drama? You met me 20 minutes ago. How do you know I'm dramatic? He looked at her. Really looked. You ran through a storm, nearly got hit by a car, argued with my driver, confronted me about my sexuality, accused me of marrying for PR, and tried to listen at a door. Okay, fair point, she muttered. A ghost of what might have been a smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Barely there. Gone too quickly. Mina hated how that tiny shift made something warm unfurl inside her. We sign the marriage contract tomorrow, he said, breaking the moment. After that, things will move quickly. She felt the room tilt. Wait, tomorrow? Yes. Her hands trembled. This is insane. It is, he agreed, but it's happening regardless. Mina's throat tightened. And what about me? My life? My choices? For the next year, he said softly, your life becomes tied to mine. Her chest ached. A year? That's the contract. And after a year? His eyes softened barely, but enough to feel like a shift in gravity. After a year, Mina, you can leave. Her breath stilled. 1 year of living with a man she didn't know. 1 year of pretending. 1 year of trying not to fall apart. She wasn't sure she could do it, but she would have to. Jae-min extended his hand again, this time not to command her, but to offer something she didn't expect. Let me make this easier for you. By doing what? She whispered. He leaned closer, voice dropping to a low murmur that sent a shiver through her. By not lying to you anymore. Mina swallowed, hard. What else haven't you told me? Jae-min held her gaze. Everything, he said. Her breath faltered, and she realized she wasn't afraid of marrying a stranger. She was afraid of how familiar he already felt. Mina's mind raced, heart hammering in her chest. She couldn't decide whether to feel terrified or exhilarated, maybe both. Jae-min's words lingered in the air like a warning, or maybe a promise. She wasn't sure which, and that uncertainty terrified her even more. The next morning arrived faster than she expected. Mina barely slept, tossing and turning, imagining every possible scenario of being bound in a marriage with a man she barely knew. Her phone vibrated incessantly, but she ignored it. Anything would wait except the inevitable confrontation with reality. The driver arrived early, silent and efficient. Mina climbed into the car, glancing at the skyline passing by. Seoul's streets buzzed with life, but inside her a storm raged louder than any city traffic. When she arrived at Jae-min's office, the building loomed over her like a monolith. She stepped into the lobby and tried to steady her breathing. A year of pretending, a year of living with a man who could probably ruin her life with a single glance. She swallowed hard, gripping her bag strap like a lifeline. Jae-min was waiting, leaning casually against the marble wall, his presence as commanding as ever. He didn't greet her with a smile, just a nod, one that somehow carried the weight of authority, expectation, and something she couldn't name. "You're early," he said, his tone even. I didn't want to be late," she replied, fumbling for words. "Good." His eyes scanned her briefly, assessing. "You're nervous." "I'm not nervous," she said, though her voice cracked slightly. He raised an eyebrow. "Sure." The elevator ride was silent, the kind of silence that made every heartbeat echo in her ears. When they reached the top floor, she followed him through the private wing of the building, a wing she had never imagined existed. It was pristine, almost too sterile, every surface shining. They entered a small office where a lawyer was already seated, papers spread across a sleek desk. "Ms. Choi?" the lawyer asked, glancing at Mina. "Yes," she replied. "Mr. Han will explain the terms, but the document needs your signature." He handed her a folder, the leather soft but heavy in her hands. Jae-min leaned against the desk, arms crossed. "Take your time," he said. Mina opened the folder and skimmed the pages. Terms of the contract, clauses about public appearances, private conduct, confidentiality, and one clause that froze her blood. Duration, 1 year. She read aloud, her voice trembling. Termination possible after 1 year. "Yes," Jae-min confirmed. "Exactly as we discussed." "Exactly as?" She looked up, heart pounding. "You didn't think I'd actually read it?" "I hoped you would," he said quietly. His dark eyes met hers, and for a brief second the world narrowed to just the two of them. She took a deep breath and signed the documents, her hand trembling despite her best efforts. Jae-min did the same, then stood and motioned toward the door. "It's official," he said simply. Mina felt the weight of the words settle like a stone in her chest. Official, married, to a man she barely knew. And yet, she couldn't ignore the pull she felt toward him. The first day of living together was awkward. The apartment felt too large, too empty. Mina had unpacked the bare essentials, arranging them in her room, trying to make the space feel like hers. She avoided the living room, avoided the kitchen, even avoided crossing paths with Jae-min unless necessary. He, on the other hand, seemed completely unbothered by her presence or absence. He appeared when needed, vanished when not. His schedule was relentless, meetings, calls, negotiations. Yet sometimes Mina would catch him in a moment of vulnerability, alone in the apartment, staring out at the city as if it held secrets only he could understand. One evening she found him there. "You should eat," she said softly, holding a bowl of soup. He turned, eyes narrowing slightly. "I'm not hungry." "You can't go a day without food," she insisted, stepping closer. "I can," he replied flatly. Her hands trembled slightly as she placed the bowl on the table. "Then, at least let me bring it to you." He studied her for a moment, then gestured with his hand. "Fine." The silence stretched between them as she set the bowl down. She wanted to speak, to break the tension, but the right words eluded her. Finally, she said, "Why are you doing this? Why marry me if you don't, if this isn't real?" Jaemin's gaze softened, though only just. "Because I need someone I can trust. Someone who won't demand what they can't have. Someone real in the ways that matter." Mina felt her chest tighten. "And I'm supposed to be that?" "Yes," he said quietly. The intensity in his eyes made her heart race, her thoughts scatter. She wanted to run, to escape this weight she didn't understand, but a part of her wanted to stay. to see where this went. Days turned into weeks, and the rhythm of their unusual arrangement began to settle. They ate together sometimes, worked in silence sometimes, and argued occasionally, mostly about trivial matters that felt monumental in the tension between them. Mina found herself learning small things about him: the way he preferred his coffee black, the way he always read the financial news before sunrise, the way his fingers drummed unconsciously when deep in thought. And sometimes, just sometimes, he would look at her, and for a moment the world seemed to narrow. One rainy night, she found herself sitting by the window, watching the city lights shimmer. He joined her silently, handing her an umbrella despite them being inside. "For the next time you leave?" he said simply. She looked at him startled. Why are you doing this?" He shrugged, a small, almost imperceptible motion. "Because someone has to care, even in small ways." Her throat tightened. "Even if it's me?" "Yes," he said, voice low. "Even if it's you." And for the first time, Mina didn't want to look away. But peace, as always, was fragile. A phone call changed everything. Jae-min answered it in the kitchen. Mina could hear his low voice, the sharpness, creeping in. Words like problem, unacceptable, immediate, sliced through the apartment. She stepped closer, trying to hear more. Then she froze. "Do not involve her," he said, voice clipped. "She is not part of this." "She will be." The other voice snapped. "No, she will not," he hissed, teeth clenched. The line went dead. Mina's chest tightened. "Who was that?" Jae-min turned, his expression unreadable but dangerous. "A complication," he said simply. "A complication?" she echoed, fear prickling at the edges of her mind. "Yes," he replied, moving past her, "and it's not your concern." Her heart raced. Something was coming, something neither of them could ignore, and she realized with a sudden sinking clarity, the storm was far from over. The following days were tense. Mina felt a weight she couldn't shake, an invisible pressure pressing down on her chest every time Jae-min left for work or answered his phone. She tried to bury herself in her language classes, her MBA coursework, even casual walks through the city, but the shadow of that call lingered. Jae-min, too, seemed different. The brief cracks of vulnerability she had glimpsed before were gone, replaced with a cold, steely precision. He moved through the apartment like a ghost, polite but distant, every word measured, every movement calculated. One night, she couldn't stand it anymore. "You're hiding something from me," she said quietly as he returned from an evening meeting, the rain streaking his coat. He stopped mid-step. "I am not hiding anything that concerns you." "It does concern me," she insisted, her voice breaking slightly. "I'm your wife. I live in this apartment with you. If something dangerous is coming, I deserve to know." Jaemin's expression darkened. "You live here because of me. You are safe because of me. Do not mistake that for weakness." Mina's heart pounded. "I'm not weak. I want to be part of your life, really part of it. Not just a name on a contract." For a long moment, silence fell. Then, slowly, he approached her, his dark eyes searching hers. "Do you truly understand what you're asking?" "I don't care," she whispered, stepping closer. I want to know you. All of you." The storm outside mirrored the one inside the apartment. Jae-min's jaw clenched, his breathing shallow. Then, finally, he spoke. "You cannot understand everything about me," he said quietly, almost a growl. "Not yet. But I promise. I will try to let you in. If you can be patient." Mina's chest ached with relief and fear, and a fluttering hope she hadn't allowed herself to feel. "I can be patient," she said softly. Days turned into weeks, and the walls between them began to crumble. Small gestures became moments of connection. A hand brushing hers as she passed, a note left on the kitchen's counter, a question asked with genuine curiosity about her day. They began eating together more frequently. Conversations started to flow, not forced, not formal, but real. "Did you enjoy your class today?" Jae-min asked one evening as they sat across from each other, the city lights spilling across the dining table. "It was, okay," Mina replied. "I'm starting to understand more Korean idioms. The teacher says I'm improving." "Good," he said, eyes flicking to her with something softer than the sharp intensity he usually wore. "You really do care, don't you?" she asked quietly. "I do," he admitted, "more than I realized I could." The admission hung in the air like a fragile promise, but neither moved to shatter it. The real test came 3 months into their marriage. Mina awoke in the middle of the night to the sound of breaking glass. Her heart leaped into her throat. Someone was in the apartment. She grabbed her phone, ready to call security, but before she could, the door to her bedroom swung open. A man, young and desperate, brandished a gun. Panic consumed her as he dragged her toward the living room. "Move, and she dies," he hissed. Mina froze, eyes wide, blood running cold. Then she heard it, the sound of Jae-min's footsteps. She felt a presence behind the intruder. "You have 3 seconds to take your hands off my wife before I show you what I'm actually capable of," Jae-min said in a voice so cold it made the hairs on her neck stand on end. The intruder laughed, pressing the gun harder against Mina's temple. But in an instant, chaos erupted. Jae-min moved with impossible speed, his hand around the man's throat, slamming him into the marble floor. The gun skittered across the floor. Mina's knees went weak as she watched him, the man she had only just begun to understand, become something unrecognizable, something terrifying in its intensity. "Are you hurt?" he asked her, voice gentling fractionally, though his grip on the intruder remained lethal. "I'm fine," she whispered, her body trembling uncontrollably. "I felt it," he murmured, lowering the man slightly but keeping him pinned. "Something was wrong. I had to come back. I had to make sure you were safe." Tears welled in Mina's eyes. "Why? Why would you care?" He released the intruder finally, stepping toward her. "Because you're mine," he said simply. "And anyone who threatens you threatens me. I don't care what anyone thinks or what rumors they spread. Touch her, and I'll burn the world down." The police arrived moments later, and the intruder was taken into custody. Mina sat wrapped in a blanket, shaking, as Jae-min remained by her side, a protective sentinel. In the days that followed, the intensity of their relationship deepened. They could no longer pretend that their marriage was just a contract. Walls broke down, and what had started as a cold, calculated arrangement began to transform into something real. "I can't believe I ever thought this would just be business," Mina whispered one evening as they sat close, the city lights casting soft shadows across the room. "It wasn't business," Jae-min replied, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I wasn't capable of pretending anymore. Not with you." Mina felt her heart swell. "Then, what are we?" "We are learning," he said, voice low, "learning how to be us." They laughed softly, relief and tenderness threading through the sound. And then, something neither had expected. The first kiss, clumsy, desperate, and perfect. It tasted like coffee, fear, and something new, something thrilling. Hope. From that night forward, nothing was the same. Jae-min tried, sometimes failing, sometimes succeeding, to show Mina that she was more than a contract. She, in turn, learned to trust him, to see past the walls he had built. They argued, they pushed each other, they grew. But every step forward, every step back, brought them closer. 6 months later, they returned to Mina's family in Lagos, not as a transaction, but as a real married couple. Her parents stared in disbelief at the man who had once seemed so cold, so untouchable. "You love her?" her father asked quietly when Mina stepped out for a call. "Yes," Jae-min said simply, "more than I thought I could love anyone." Tears filled her father's eyes. I'm sorry. I thought I was saving her, but I almost destroyed her happiness." "You didn't destroy anything," Jae-min replied. "You gave me the greatest gift of my life." That night, lying in her childhood bedroom, Mina asked, "Do you regret how it all started?" "Never," he said, pulling her close, "because every day I get to choose you. Not because of a contract or obligation, but because I want to." 1 year after their marriage, Chang Industries' annual gala brought them into the public eye again. Mina wore a stunning red gown, Jae-min's favorite color, and stood beside him with confidence she had earned. "You're staring?" she murmured as they took their seats. "Can't help it," he said, taking her hand in his. "You're the most beautiful woman here." During his speech, Jae-min did something unexpected. He turned toward Mina, hand extended, and spoke of her not as a wife by contract, but as his partner, his best friend, the person he chose every day. Tears streamed down Mina's face as the crowd applauded. She didn't hear the noise. She only heard him whisper, "I love you." "I love you too," she replied, "even when you're terrible at being human." And for the first time, the impossible had become inevitable. The arrangement had turned into a love story neither of them had planned, but both had chosen every single day. If you loved Mina and Jae-min's journey from a cold arrangement to consuming love, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment telling us your favorite moment. Was it the break-in, the first kiss, or the gala speech? Your support keeps these stories coming, and I read every single comment. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next story, because love doesn't always start perfectly, but it's always worth fighting for.